Hello there, welcome to Alchemize Yourself Tarot. This reading is about embodying the positive and negative charge energetically, becoming a living battery. The other day I did a reading exploring how masculine and feminine roles play out in our lives in a cultural way. I don't think we can truly explore our soul path or spiritual development without acknowledging the roles these dynamics play. The alchemical marriage, or the yin and yang esoteric concept, has really been hijacked and romanticized by the New Age twin flame concept, which has turned inner balance of masculine and feminine energy into a romantic ideal that gets projected onto physical relationships, which in turn can actually polarize and disempower us. So if you're using the living battery idea, the positive being the giving, expansive, life-affirming energy, with the negative, the receptive, grounding, inward, then the system only works because there's polarity. Energy moves because there's a difference. So what happens if both charges go negative? You're not getting more grounded, you're actually getting stagnation. Hanged Man energy. Nine of Swords, Page of Pentacles in the reverse. This can feel like emotional heaviness, withdrawal, without any sort of renewal, rumination instead of reflection, isolation that's draining instead of restoring you. So this is two negative charges. It's like a battery with no voltage. No current can move, right? When there's two negative charges, it repels. There's nothing moving the energy forward. When this shows up in relationships, if two people are both in a negative state, wounded, withdrawn, guarded, or depleted, no one's initiating or leading the connection. Mutual projection. The other person's the problem, right? Emotional dead zone instead of intimacy. And there's this resistance loop, which Five of Wands, Ten of Wands, right? There's resistance, there's pushback, tension, right? It's like when you're arm wrestling, two people pushing against one another or moving apart. It's not balance, it's an energetic gridlock. So spiritually, it's not necessarily bad, it's just a phase. It's not that going negative is wrong. Sometimes it's necessary during shadow work or grief processing, nervous system shutdown after overwhelm, right? Ten of Wands, many of you have been feeling this overwhelm. A descent phase, like the underworld archetype. Some of you have experienced that. But the problem is staying there without the polarity returning, right? Judgment. Something has to shift, right? That lightning bolt. Transformation requires a return current, something that reintroduces movement. Truth, action, expression, choice. Eight of Cups evolving, even choosing to disconnect, right? Eight of Cups is a movement card. So when both of these charges are going negative, you have to generate this polarity. You don't wait for it, you have to create it. right? The Page of Pentacles in the reverse. You have to move that into some sort of concrete idea or planning. You have to reactivate your masculine charge, that purpose, that positive charge. Think of it like an energetic charge. A lot of spiritual spaces are over glorifying feminine energy as purely receptive, but pure receptivity with no active principle, it collapses into passivity or confusion or loss of the self. So your healing turns into hiding instead of generating or creating. And I think that's the importance of that last video. It's about you're being you feel like you're being forced into independence, but this is for a reason. This is to activate your masculine and your feminine energy. You need to be able to generate creative flow for yourself. So when both charges within you go negative, you don't get harmony, you're getting inertia. So this is a time when you're, with the Judgment card, you're needing to reintroduce movement, choice, direction, even in small, honest ways. So this is a time when many of you are trying to get out of that, and that resistance to, or just over anxiety, nervousness. There's this pent up energy that's been building within you. So I'm going to pull another spread here. We're at Judgment. We're leaving off at Judgment when it comes to living battery energy, because this is actually becoming a burden to not have flow of movement. And some of you experienced this in relationship, and it maybe magnified this lack of flow in your life. That mirrored back to you that need, that desire for movement. The feminine energy starts saying, well, I'm not going to do anything until you do something. Well, and the masculine energy is like, well, I'm not going to do anything until you do something, right? You can't move things forward like that. And if that's being mirrored into in your relationship, or even things in your life, it can really create a lot of stagnancy until there's a shift in your perspective. You need to unlock that energetic flow. So let's go a little deeper into the restoration of polarity. How do we get that polarity restored and moving and flowing again? How do we get it restored? Back into movement and flow, back into a circuit. Yes, Seven of Cups. Yeah, staying kind of in a stalemate of fantasy or illusion. Oh, this kind of flew out. Eight of Pentacles in the reverse. So the energy has collapsed inward by stagnancy in your work. It's creating stagnancy in you creating or doing something. You're meant to be generating your energy towards something. And it relates to that other reading, in that a lot of you are finding balance through what you're trying to create. So where it's collapsing inward is it's stagnating your ability to create. Some of you have kind of just moved into a period of isolating yourself, not generating new ideas. And you're avoiding this because, yes, you're in the divine feminine energy. You're waiting for something to happen. Excuse me. You're staying in your divine feminine energy. So you're actually creating or expecting something to be created without doing the work. Or many of you are recognizing this, that things don't create themselves. You can be very fertile, right? This could be a very fertile time for you, but you may miss out on opportunities if you're not generating it yourself. So the feminine can't just wait for the masculine. But many times we're taught to do this, to stay in the divine feminine energy. So you're avoiding wanting to move out of receptivity. But the thing is, the divine feminine is a creative force, right? The divine feminine is like a womb. There's a lot of things going on behind the scenes. So there's a lot of ideas, a lot of things that you want to create, that you're needing to have the courage to take action towards them. And the truth you're needing to express is, maybe you haven't really wanted to change. You don't want something to be over, right? Death card in the reverse is a resistance to transition and rebirth. This is going to require radical transformation, right? Divine intervention. Something's going to happen, or, I mean, like I said, it doesn't have to be extreme. There's this major breakthrough in awareness. Mars is a masculine assertive force. It's fire. It's, you're going to do something about it. You got to change something. You got to end a dynamic. You have to end a period of not working or stagnancy, or being hyper-focused on receiving. And many of you have had partnerships where there's this expectation of them always initiating, and that hasn't been happening. Or you've been sold this idea, this ideal or ideology of, well, the feminine shouldn't be working. Everything should be provided from outside of yourself. So this is going to take a major rebirth and transformation of, wait a second, I can't just, things don't just appear out of thin air magically. Same with manifestation. You do have to initiate and move into an energetic, creative space for yourself. You can't just sit on the couch and expect all your dreams to come true. And I think that's the reality manifestation things that we really need to become aware of. So the truth that's needing to be expressed is something hasn't changed. If you're waiting on a relationship dynamic to change, it's not changing. You're going to have to activate that for yourself. You can't expect it to just magically appear from the outside. What small action would restore this movement for you? Ace of Swords, a breakthrough of awareness. You're getting it. You're getting it. You're understanding, wait a second, I have an idea. I have to go towards that. You're starting to see how you embody your own masculine and feminine energy. We have inner masculine and feminine energy, and it's there to be utilized. It's there for our creation. We're supposed to be channeling that. And to passively wait for outside things to just come to us. Well, I mean, for some people that are lucky, that can happen, and it has happened. I'm not saying that never happens, but if it's not happening for you at this time, this is that awareness, that breakthrough. Wait a second. There's this need to end a cycle of stagnancy and integrate the masculine again. Get busy with something. Create something. And what will shift? Justice, this imbalance, right? The justice in reverse. Something feels very unfair and unbalanced. Some of you may even have some resentment about that. You're breaking out of these karmic patterns that have been keeping you stuck. These narratives that say, oh, it's unfair that things aren't happening because, well, it's the masculine's job, blah, blah, blah. Well, you know, yes, masculine energy needs to come back in with concrete planning and active movement. That is true. But if you're like a divine feminine and you're sitting back passively waiting for things to happen, this is how you're going to move out of that stagnancy, is to bring that masculine, inner masculine energy into yourself, into your work, your creations. So what's going to shift is this feeling of imbalance or unfairness. You're going to be that living battery. Yeah, planning and decisions. Two of Wands, you're going to start initiating things. And it doesn't have to be you initiating a relationship. That's like a whole other problem, because, yeah, that plays into all those polarized narratives that are going on. Many of you are needing to take action towards your work, towards your creations. That's how you're going to activate the masculine energy and movement in your own life. And Eight of Swords, yeah, you feel stuck. That receptive feminine energy and excessive use of that or embodying that has actually created you being stuck in your head or feeling like things aren't happening in your life. And yes, you need periods of shadow work. You need periods of isolation and, you know, self-reflection. And sometimes you have to gestate on things. And there's a time for all of that. And then there's a time, wait a second, you got to get that flow going again. So it's time to challenge the passivity or, you know, disguise as avoidance, right? There's all of that. So let me see, what can we do to close out this message? Yeah, Wheel of Fortune in the reverse. Many of you are feeling things just aren't happening. And that's why. It's because you're in the negative charge of the battery. And you have two negative charges happening in your life. The world isn't responding. And sometimes that'll happen. The world isn't always, you can't wait for that positive charge just to magically come from the external world. This is why people become artists and musicians, and they you know, find the Hanged Man again. They find a lot of joy from their work. It's because they're able to activate that positive charge despite whatever's happening in relationships or in the external world. And there will be some further discussion on how masculine and feminine energy are being weaponized culturally. But you can't allow that to affect what's going on in your personal life at this time. We can't control everything except ourselves. We have to take the initiative to create change in our lives, despite what's going on in the cultural narrative. Connect to source. Go within to discover what needs to be done. Create the shift required to attract what you want. Right? Yes, many of you have already connected to source. You've already gone within. And now it's time to create that shift to attract. You've been attracting, and now you're moving to a period of initiating. Not that you're going and asking every guy at the bar out. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying you're initiating what you want to create in your life. You know, I'm just laughing because a lot of times, I don't want that to be misinterpreted as you're the one being the aggressor, or in that sense in your relationships. But there's definitely something that needs to change. And then we have mutually beneficial venture. There is an extraordinary connection at the forefront of your life at this moment. Utilize this relationship to benefit everyone. See, that's beautiful. This is a time to connect and network. And, even in that other reading, we were talking about the Three of Cups, having a community, friendships. There's definitely a relationship to benefit us collectively. That's going to be the shift. That's where you're going to have that ability to initiate and start creating some movement. Single-mindedness. Choose your path and what is best suited to you. So you need to direct that towards the best path that's suited to you. But also it's important to not become single-minded in the negative charge, or I'm not saying femininity is negative, but you don't want to be in that passive charge forever, right? You need to kind of start directing your purpose, because the thing with divine feminine energy, it's like flow. It's this abundance of energy, but it's not contained, right? The Emperor card, the masculine principle creates order to it. It directs it. That's the order out of kind of the chaotic energy that has nowhere to flow. It's all interesting. I mean, I want to explore this a lot deeper, this living battery, this alchemical marriage. I mean, you can get all grandiose with it, but that's basically what the concept is. And I would love to explore this in a deeper way. And I thank you for being here and liking and sharing and subscribing, and hope to see you again. Bye.